Good morning. Welcome to the August County Board meeting. Would you please join me for the pledge and a moment of silence?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing on the agenda is the Life Saving Award.
Good morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair. I'm here before you wanted to present a life-saving award to one of our deputies who's done excellent work for us. He is with us today. Nick, I'm going to ask you to come on up if you would, please. Nick is probably a guy that you don't recognize because he works the middle of the night shift and he gets off at 6 a.m. or when you guys are just probably getting up. So he's one of our unsung heroes. I sure really appreciate him. I've had that opportunity to work those middle of the night, and I know the challenge of that. So Nick, I appreciate you being able to come today. But we wanted to present to you this life-saving award. Back in September 22nd of 22, at about 5 o'clock in the morning, Deputy Censor responded to the Oswald residence after Jason Oswald called and reported his wife Carrie, who was unresponsive and not breathing. Deputy Censor arrived on the scene and utilized an AED on Carrie prior to the North ambulance arriving. And it was with that the Deputy Censor's quick response led to Carrie making a full recovery and being here today. This incident happened 1 week after the Sheriff's Office put into service 22 of these AEDs. The AEDs were given to the Sheriff's Office from a statewide project administered through the University of Minnesota and and funded by the Hemsley Charitable Foundation. And it's with those AEDs that Nick was able to utilize that just a week after we put them in every one of the squad cars. And we saved a life. And, these things happen, often, and oftentimes we don't get credit, or they don't get credit for that. And today we want to recognize Nick for this life-saving award, and I want to present that to you. And also a life-saving award pin. Awesome. And I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we grab a photo with you guys? Oh, yes. Here's Carrie. Sorry about that. I wanted to introduce to you Carrie, too, the person that was saved.
Hi.
Yeah, come
We
on
should
up.
thank the husband for calling, too.
Yeah. Good work.
Yes,
I don't know if my wife would.
Yeah, the hubby's real here.
You guys want to come out down for a picture? All right. Want to go ahead?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Now, what do you want to look right here?
What a nice picture.
I'll take two more real quick. Beautiful. Okay.
Tim, who's going to speak? Who's going to speak?
I think, yeah.
She's here, okay. Kara?
There she is.
Next is our recognition of our retiring employee.
Good morning, Madam Chair, County Board. We're here today to celebrate and mourn the retirement of Kathy Condon. She has been with us for a little over 16 years, and while hasn't literally saved our lives in the way that we just heard, she has saved us a number of times with all of the great work that she has done for us. We are going to miss her, and we very much appreciate all that she has done over the last 16 and a half years. Do you want to address the board?
No.
Blame you.
Well, while I'm here, it's been a great pleasure to work at Crow Wing County. I've worn many, many hats, sometimes all at the same time, and we managed to make it through somehow. I will miss those that I work with.
Thank you.
We're going to miss you, Kathy, and the good work you do.
Can we get you up one more time?
One more time. Okay.
There you go. Perfect. Great, okay.
Great.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you, Steve.
Madam Chair, if I might, I would just like to say thank you. This is two examples of the great employees that we have at Crow Wing County. So thank you again very much for all the work that you folks do, both in the Sheriff's Office, at Community Services. It's underappreciated, but just know that we as a board do appreciate everything that you guys and ladies do out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is open forum. Fred Capra.
Thank you. My name is Fred Cabrup. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife Janet, who is here, and my sister-in-law Kathy Latcham, who could not make it today. About what the proposal for Little Emily Lake is what I'm here for. I attended the May 4th meeting with only a couple council members attending. The opposing was approximately 50 against the park and maybe 5 that were for the park proposal. I attended the latest city council meeting and the public got up and spoke in opposition. I didn't hear the local public speaking in favor of the park. So I would like to know who it is that wants to waste tax dollars on this park. I'd also like to know if the park is going to go through, who is going to be responsible for all of the expenses. And the map that was made out of the park proposal, it showed trails going to, we have the property on the south side of Little Emily Lake. Approximately, I don't know, I'm just guessing 2/3 of that shoreline is our property. The map did not show the trails where they were going to end on the map. And I'd like to know if I would want, if the proposal goes through, I would want a fenced-in area where our property line ends so that people walking the trails are not crossing into our property, and also garbage that would be blowing into our property as well. I would like that fenced off if the proposal does go through. That is all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Kirk Soldner.
Kirk Soldner, 42702 State Highway 6, regarding the proposed beach and park at Little Emily Lake and the county presentation at Emily on August 8th. I requested updated drawings in advance, but nothing was provided until the presentation. The Emily Council narrowly voted to proceed without adequate review of documents by constituents. I also have not received the environmental assessment worksheet that I requested. A DNR letter was provided. Quote, "The shore impact zone above OHW did not appear to contain any wetlands and is generally of low slope with generally well-drained sandy soils suitable for quick infiltration of any stormwater events after development," end quote. Regarding did not appear, the site either contains wetlands per generally accepted definitions or it doesn't. Apparently, site review is incomplete. A picture in my sustainable use plan shows a long vernal pool that can persist for months. Vernal pools are universally considered to be wetlands. I've used a tape measure and a transit to benchmark the basin behind the glacial ridge. A vegetation transition from sparse to permanent indicates that standing water can extend about 271 feet south of the path. Elevation there is equal to the glacial ridge overflow point near the path, so if water tries to rise higher, it'll overflow at the north end. Behind the 150-foot beach, there's currently northward flow into the vernal pool. Impacting the drainage into a wetland is just as bad as impacting the wetland directly. The letter mentions best management practices for landscaping. BMPs for this area are to leave it alone. Also incentivizing protection of the privately held South Shore. Regarding suitable for quick infiltration of any stormwater events after development, end quote, this is opposite of how the forest and wetland currently work to sustain water quality. Removing topsoil and organic cover so stormwater quickly passes through granular and enters the aquifer unfiltered is not a BMP. The slow natural filter is perfect as is. The county estimate is 16 to 20,000 vehicles annually, a stunning number versus historical use. Substantial impact from the heavily used ATV trail was not even mentioned. Little Emily is only 99 acres, 90% littoral. Conservatively, estimate 20,000 swimmers annually. By what criteria is such use sustainable? Papoose Lake is only 750 feet from Little Emily, but it hasn't even been mentioned in county plans. Giving thousands of people easier access to this unmonitored, pristine lake guarantees huge negative impacts. Proper management as a two-lake ecosystem is outlined in my sustainable use plan. Camping rules in the county forest plan are minimal, outdated, and make no distinction between lakeshore and forested tracts. Nothing prevents large number of campers in this general area, including the shorelines, even if camping is not allowed in the park proper. Both lakes are likely to be seriously damaged. Commissioner Hoag has my comments. I again request a copy of the EAW. If it understates the existing wetland and likely impact to both lakes and surrounding area from all users combined, including a substantial allowance for uncontrolled use, it'll be challenged. Many specific and common sense concerns brought forward in good faith have been ignored or dismissed as selfish because they don't support assumptions that are based on minimal understanding of the area. Neighbors who do understand and have maintained the area for public benefit are still willing to work with the county on a sustainable use plan that emphasizes conservation, BMPs, and environmental education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of the August 8th meeting.
Madam Chair, I have one addition to the minutes. It can be under my report. I think Amy will cover it for me, but it is a...
Agenda, we're on minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion,
We're on agenda.
motion to approve the
Minutes.
minutes, yeah. You kind
I'll second that. Motion to second that.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Barrows. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, review and approve the agenda.
We have a labor contract that we wish to have you consider. We can do that under my report.
Okay.
And then, Madam Chair, if I might, I would like to vote on the personnel actions separate of the consent agenda, so
So we'll pull 7.2.
thank you.
John?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to remove 7.7 from the consent agenda. I'd like to speak to Land Services Director Gary about that.
Okay, we will pull 7.2 and 7.7 and address those right after we vote on the consent agenda. So is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I would like to make the motion to approve the agenda as printed, well, with the one exception that was added for under the administrator's report.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I would second that if that means that my pulling 7.2 and
7.2 and
7.7.
7.7 will be addressed right after
Okay.
consent.
Perfect.
Okay. So you seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to accept the consent agenda, pulling 7.2 and 7.7.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 7.2. Personnel.
Madam Chair, if you remember, or if the county board remembers that in personnel, a couple weeks ago, we had a in-depth conversation. Well, we always have an in-depth conversation about who's leaving, who we're hiring, if we're hiring new positions. And I think all of the county board knows that I'm really sensitive about hiring new positions. I just feel like the population of Crow Wing County is not growing at the rate that I sometimes think the number of new employees that we're hiring. And this position of social worker, and Kara, if you wanted to comment on it, you're certainly welcome, but I want to vote no on this. I know the rest will probably support this, but we had an in-depth conversation. I don't support this. I don't know that there's a reason for this. So anyway,
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, County Board, thank you, Commissioner. I had sent an email last night with information related to the data. We have seen an increase in the number of cases, not necessarily, I apologize, the number of cases in relation to the population size, right? But the number of cases in relation to the specific population that we serve related to substance misuse. So we currently have about 90 cases, and there were 2 social workers that were covering those 90 cases. These cases are significantly complex in that they often have a substance misuse component as well as a mental health component. They require a lot of oversight and interaction. In addition to that, we are rolling out the coordinated care model in which we can collect additional revenue. That needs to be overseen by an LADC to provide hourly supervision for each staff person who will be conducting that work. So that's an additional duty, as well as we have a number of specialty areas now that we're working toward: drug court, DUI court, alternatives to incarceration, and each of those teams needs to have representation from our mental health and substance use disorder team. So there's a lot going on. We've run, one thing I'm really proud of, and I appreciate the county board's support in, is that we've run a really lean ship, and we will commit to continuing to do so. Could I say anything more complicated? Commit to continuing to do so. And know that the complexity of the cases that we're now facing is really taking a toll on our staff. So we ask for an additional substance use disorder social work position that will be paid for out of federal opioid dollars, so there will not be an impact to the levy. We anticipate to receive the federal opioid dollars over the course of the next 18 years, so it's a sustainable funding source for a while. And I stand for any questions that you may have.
Anyone? Hearing none.
Madam Chair, with that, I'll make the motion to approve the personnel actions as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Hoag. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I agree with you. Motion carries. 7.7.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to address this as something. First is that I was at the fire tower for the land services, was that employee appreciation?
Good morning. Yes, Commissioner Lupke. We have a annual employee appreciation. This year we chose to do it at the fire tower.
It was a very beautiful, I mean, it's a very beautiful fire tower. It's been very, very well done. The question I run into, and it'll fill in as we go on here, what do you estimate the estimated extra cost in maintenance of that? Because we've added a bunch of trails up there. I mean, it's a beautiful park. I mean, it really is. So the money we've spent on that, what do we expect the cost of operation of that as far as staff?
Currently, we budget roughly one full-time staff, so a loaded cost is around $80,000, and then we have a line item that we budget about $50,000 for maintenance on all of our parks and accesses. So, you could say about $130,000 a year in maintenance costs ongoing. Even though we choose to do the maintenance, most of it's done in the spring, summer, fall, and that's done with more than just one, but when you add up all the time, it's roughly around one full-time.
In our proposal today here on our consent agenda, you're looking at spending $1.4 million on the Milford Memorial expansion, and also spending another $410,000 on the Little Emily Park. She needed to take that call, I know that. So, and so when we do that kind of expansion, and those funds come from sales, you said they come from either land sales or timber sales, but they still are taxpayers' dollars, correct?
That is correct.
And if we, I mean, it's a big number. I mean, I'm thinking the total of this thing that you looked at for a budget amendment is somewhere around $2 million of investment into that area. And it's, according to this, it's, we estimated what, $138,000 is what we were going to spend this year? Is that what I'm seeing here on this thing? What can that be absorbed in your current operating capital budget? It's 138, so that's all we really had planning on spending. If we don't spend that money, where does that money go?
Sure. So it'll go through a tax apportionment process. So in January, 60 cents on the dollar will go between our recreation fund and our general fund here at the county. 40 cents will go back to schools and cities or townships on where the land or the timber were cut.
Okay, so it doesn't go away. You know, it still stays in the county.
Sure.
Okay. It just seemed like it's such a large number when we're looking at other things in our county that we look at supporting. I look at this as a great thing. I mean, the parks that we're doing and the way we're taking care of them, I think they're just gems out there. It's just that there's other things that the county could be using that money for, and this is an expense which will continue to cost us money, versus if we put it in other areas, it would be more of an investment, a return on investment than what it is. I just wanted to address that, but I still can't totally disagree with it. The other thing I look at is this is still the taxpayers' dollars that we're doing it, and we're committing to those parks.
Correct, just not levy dollars.
It's not levy dollars, okay. Okay.
Money that has to be spent on things
Well,
like
it has
this.
to be spent, yes.
But it has to be spent on these things. It can't be spent on other things.
Madam Chair, if I can address that a little bit?
Yeah, please do, because for me, it's a little bit of a misunderstanding of how we have this amount of money coming to us, and it's kind of a windfall. I don't think we expected that money to come in.
Any money that goes through our coffers must meet the public purpose doctrine. What that means is that it has to serve some legitimate public purpose. If I go and have my dry cleaning done and build that to the county, it would not qualify as a public purpose, right? Every dollar we spend has to meet that criteria. There are other funds that have other restrictions on what we can use them on. The Public Land Management Fund, we raise revenues there through timber sales and sales of lands that we have acquired through the tax forfeited land process that we don't feel like we need for forestry management purposes. They would be better served being out on the tax rolls. And so we have been engaged in a process for quite some time now of divesting ourselves of those smaller parcels and acquiring larger parcels that we can actually do something with. In this case, it happens to be for a park purpose. In Milford's case, next year, I think, is the 100th anniversary of the loss of those miners. And so our investment at this point in time is rather strategic. It is to commemorate, and I think we will be doing some things with these improvements that will commemorate that loss. I think we want a somber reflection pool over the site of the mine entrance, which is 60 feet below the water line. It's hard to imagine that it's 60 feet below the water line, that's where they went in. And so we do think that Milford has a special place in Crow Wing County history. We have invested more in probably that park than any other park. We probably have more attendance at Fire Tower Park than at Milford, but it just has that tug on us. It has that tug. We can't use these resources to build a road. We cannot use these resources for health and human services. We cannot use these resources for public safety. They have to be used for public land management purposes or parks purposes. And so these are the only two purposes we can put them to. We already fully cover the cost of our forestry management services, 100%, and then generate additional money that goes out to cities, towns, and school districts. And so we do share that largesse. In this particular case, we are looking to make a significant investment in a park that has significant meaning to us. And it seems like the right time, given the commemoration next year.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it aware of the fact that there is still a cost of ongoing maintenance of these
Absolutely.
parks, and that somewhere down the road, we will end up, we're having more staff committed to that.
Yeah, we may at some point in time. Right now, like I say, the forestry from land sales and timber sales more than covers the cost.
Covers that cost, okay.
And I
So-
think there's enough of a margin left that it will be not during any of your tenures
Okay.
that has any risk of hitting a levy cost. I don't see it for at least a decade.
Okay. Thank you. I just needed that explained to me a little bit better, because it is a big chunk of change.
Yes.
And when people look at our numbers and see we're spending $2-point-some million on parks, and we're not spending money on other areas, I get questions asked.
Yes, and it is because they were generated through these kinds of processes and must be spent on these kinds of uses.
Thank you. I think that's all, Gary. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if there's nothing else on that one, on 7.7, the 2023 budget amendment, tax forfeited fund projects, I would move adoption.
Is there a second? Second. Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
DNR, Christine Riaz.
Morning.
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 Morning, Christine.
Morning, I'm Christine Rice. I'm the Brainerd Area Wildlife Supervisor in the DNR, and my office manages the state wildlife management areas in Crow Wing County and southern Cass counties. I'm here today to talk to the county board seeking approval for an acquisition adjacent to our Ray Cook Wildlife Management Area. Ray Cook Wildlife Management Area is approximately 6 miles south of Brainerd here, and it's adjacent to County Highway 45 and Cooks Road. This WMA was formed in 1967 with the purpose to conserve a 52-acre shallow lake. It's an unnamed lake there in the center, for waterfowl nesting and cover, and to create a wildlife management area for public hunting. The current wildlife management area includes 250 acres and nearly all of the land adjacent to that unnamed shallow lake. The parcel DNR is seeking to for approval is a 10-acre parcel shown in red there on the map. It's adjacent to Cooks Road, and while it's a small parcel, it has a big impact on access to public lands. If you want to flip to the other map, the second map maybe shows it better. The public land south of the lake, which includes 120 acres of wildlife management area, 400 acres of county tax forfeited lands, and 280 acres of forestry administered school trust lands, are currently only accessible by boating across the shallow lake. You could seek permission from private landowners, but the only true public access is to boat across the lake. So the acquisition of this parcel would provide public access to those 800 acres and also allow for my staff, the county staff, to work on or access the county and state lands for habitat management purposes. We also would have the potential of developing a hunter walking trail in that area, which we haven't done because there's no public access to those. So this parcel, if acquired, would be subject to PILT payments. So I provided you with some numbers to help you understand what that means. And you can see from the previous map that the parcel does include a trailer house, a heated pole building, and a smaller storage shed that the DNR is not planning to retain. So we plan to remove those buildings, and that would affect the PILT payments. So just for comparison sake, the 2023 taxes for this property were $714. The initial PILT payments based on the appraised value would be $1,725. And then, the county reassesses this value every 6 years for lands that are subject to PILT payments. So the next scheduled reassessment would be 2028, in which case the PILT would be recalculated based on the new estimated market value. So just for comparison purposes, I wasn't sure how to show it to you, but I used the estimated land values that the county had for this property that were used in the 2023 calculations, and that was $81,800. And so the calculated PILT for comparison purposes would have been $613.50. So I hope you can see from, it's a small parcel, but it would have a large value to public access to these 800 acres that are currently landlocked. And so just entertain any questions you might have about the project and hopefully answer those.
Madam Chair, if I may, no questions, just a comment. I think this project's been in the hopper for a while. We have talked before. I was opposed to it. I'm not opposing it today, and the reason why I was opposed to it, I was very upset with the DNR when I was trying to, negotiate or talk to them about the lake level on Lower South Long Lake. There's a dam there, and there's a slot to put in so you can manage the level of the lake. And as you know, it's been a dry summer, and last year and this year, and the lake is just literally emptied out. There's weeds all over the place, and so I tried to deal with, at the time, the area hydrologist. And actually, I was talking to the assistant commissioner, Bob Myers, and before I could even get something negotiated out there, she went out and ripped this board out that some of my neighbors had put in to try to control the level of the lake. But I'm still not done with that. I want to try to, if you go to California, they try to conserve their water instead of sending it all downstream. I don't know why we wouldn't want to try to conserve the water here and keep the lake levels at a reasonable height, and rather than just pouring it out of here. So I'm still going to be working on that, but I'm not going to be opposed to this today. which I'm sure you're glad to hear. So I'm over my angriness over that, so.
Madam Chair? Christine, are there any county lands around here that we would have any interest in your access point?
So the county lands directly south of, you can see in the yellow, probably on the bigger map, our county tax forfeited lands were shown in yellow on the second map. They're kind of that yellow shaded.
Just to the south? And
Yep.
so
So directly south of the 120 acres, and there are some existing timber access trails through the WMA portion onto the county land, and the county has used those trails on the WMA before for timber access.
Cool. And any restrictions on our continued ability to do that?
We're happy to work with the county on those things. And I've talked to Chris Pence about even the possibility of expanding hunter walking trails that the state might want to manage on the WMA if the county is interested in having trails that would be mowed or maintained. We would be interested in that.
Do you harvest that south section?
We have not to date, but it is on a stand exam.
We might want to just coordinate a harvest plan, you know?
Right.
That's all I have.
Any more discussion? Questions for Christine? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
County Sheriff.
County Sheriff.
County Sheriff. Enter and sign in, please.
You're always on the agenda.
You're always on the.
Well, you're too kind.
Enter and sign in, please.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Commissioners, Madam Chair. Not too much. We're winding down from the summer. Well, we never wind down, actually, but we just got over BIR, had a great event out there. Fairly uneventful. We had, a fight that started over some spitballs that were made from marshmallows. So it's always something new or always something interesting out there, and but it was very uneventful. Talked to some neighbors and stuff, and they appreciated the lessening of the sound that continues to go on. So they were able to shut that down and be really intentional about cutting out the fireworks and the loud music and stuff like that. So other than that, I don't think I have anything else for you. If you have any questions for me or heard any rumors, concerns, comments, or compliments, please share them with us.
Madam Chair, I'll just reiterate what I said earlier, Sheriff, that we really appreciate your troopers and the men and women that are out there keeping us safe. It's just amazing the work that they have to do. We know that recruitment is a problem within the industry, but certainly it doesn't go without acknowledgement from us how much we really do appreciate what you folks do out there, day in and day out. Doesn't matter if it's 5 o'clock in the morning and we're saving somebody's life, or even some of our neighbors saving somebody that's drowning in the river or trying to drown in the river, whatever happens. But you guys respond every time, and just a quality group of people within our county. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you for those comments. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, I know you'll talk to me later.
Talk to you later.
Thank you. Is the county attorney online? Yep.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Don.
I don't have anything for you either, but I'd certainly be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I guess not. Well, thank you for being here.
Yep, have a good day, everybody.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye-bye. County Administrator.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I have the senior management team meeting agenda here. Item number 1 is budget, item number 2 is budget, item number 3 is budget, literally. That's what we worked on Monday. And so we will review where we're at on Thursday at the budget committee meeting. I think we will be able to hit your targets. So I hope you'll be pleased with the result. I also have on your schedule to set a public hearing for a road vacation in the unorganized territory. That is for Wonder Road. The petition has been in your packet, and we are suggesting the hearing to be held on September 26th, 2023, 9:05 a.m. regarding vacating that portion of Wonder Road. It's in the plat of Wonder Acres on the south side of the plat. Scheduling the public hearing, the petitioner then is required to notify certain folks according to statute, provide us an affidavit of publication and certification that the mailing occurred, and then you hold the public hearing and take public comments on whether or not the road should be vacated. You have staff comments already in your board packet to give you an indication from internal perspective whether there are issues. Tom Pearson is here representing the, I forget the gentleman's name. Hollingsworth, Mr. Hollingsworth, and he would be prepared to answer any questions that you may have. The request is to schedule a public hearing for September 26th at 9:05 a.m.
Any questions?
Madam Chair, if there's no questions, I would make the motion to set the public hearing for, remind me, September 22nd?
September 26th at 9:05 a.m.
26th.
It'll be at a regular county board meeting.
At 9:05 a.m.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Madam Chair, we have a labor agreement, and Amy, if you would like to come forward. Amy is our Human Resources Director and has been actively engaged in labor negotiations. Each year, we have probably 3 to 4 of our 11 bargaining units that come open for contract negotiations. So every year, Amy is busy, sitting down and doing contract negotiations. This is the first settlement, I think, that, well, actually, no, this is settlement coming from 2023. And so we have been negotiating all the way through. Right now, I believe there is an expired contract. This is an important contract for us for all of the reasons that you guys just mentioned. This is our law enforcement folks. These are the people who respond when you're having your heart attack. These are the folks who respond when someone is breaking into your home. These are the people who respond when someone is attacking you. This is a really important function of county government. And so this labor market has really posed some significant challenges. And I think we also know there's a great deal going on in the law enforcement community over the course of the past number of years, and the number of people who wish to go into law enforcement has probably declined. That is lamentable for a variety of reasons. We don't want to be among them who are losing our law enforcement officers. These are high-quality folks, as you can see. So Amy's going to walk through with you on a couple of slides what are the key provisions in the agreement, and then we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Amy?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is the Law Enforcement Labor Services Local 14 covering our deputies and investigators, as Tim had mentioned. It covers 35 employees, our deputies, investigators, and our security rec deputies as well. They are on the market-aligned pay plan, covering 100% of the application of our pay matrix and our performance-based pay adjustments. As part of the agreement for 2023, it's to increase the ranges by 2.5%. And in 2024, aligning more to 90% of the metro versus the 85%, and again, increasing the ranges by 2.5%, and 25 also increasing the ranges by 2.5%.
I think this is a reflection of a challenging labor market in which we need to make sure that the ranges we have that we're hiring from, minimum to maximum, are accurate. We are seeing movement within the external market, but when we move the range, it doesn't automatically generate a pay increase for someone. We move the range and then that puts them into a new quartile, which may make a difference in what their wage is. We also then overlay pay for performance, and so you know that performance is a component of how they get their increases as well. That 90% of the metro, I think what we're seeing is that with the housing market being as on fire as it has been, we have seen what has happened to home values in our community. They have risen faster here than they have in the metro, which home price differential is usually what drives wage differentials, because it's cheaper to live out here, right? well, it's getting less cheaper to live out here than it used to be. So we are making sure that that differential to the metro market, which is the most robust labor market in Minnesota, is still accurately anchored to the minimums and the maximums. Okay?
The deputies are on our county insurance plans as well and will remain on them. Some of the key recognitions is we're adding Juneteenth and Christmas Eve as a full paid holiday. The bereavement leave will include life partner in the definition for the family member. We're also going to go into an MOU for a recruitment and retention incentive with this group, include some pay for the K-9 maintenance. We do have one K-9 on staff currently with our sheriff's office, and just some language cleanup here and there within the contract as well, and we have agreed to a 3-year contract with this group. For the wage settlement, to keep within that market alignment and looking at the ranges, we are going to be moving our patrol deputies to a grade 160, which is also where our investigators are at with the grade 160. And then a 6% movement within the range for the deputies and investigators as part of that movement to the grade 160. Our security and rec deputies will remain at a grade 150 and receive the $1 an hour in addition to their performance-based pay adjustment. And then for 24 and 25, it'll be a 2.5% movement within the range for all members of the unit. Are there any questions? If there's no questions, a motion is in order to authorize entering into an agreement between Crow Wing County and Law Enforcement Labor Services Local 14, effective January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2025, and the chair, HR manager, and county administrator are authorized to sign said agreement.
Madam Chair, before we do a motion, I just want to say, I want to just dovetail off of what Commissioner Barrow said. We had a meeting, which we have multiple meetings with the Sheriff's Department, and I just want to publicly say that I appreciate the Sheriff's Office and all your staff for realizing that we have a partnership here between the county board, who's in charge of the purse strings, you're in charge of law enforcement, and it really is a working relationship. And, you know, I'm in my 11th year here, and sometimes it always wasn't a good working relationship. But I will say, Eric, that you and your crew is really bending over backwards to try to work with the county board, and I for one, really appreciate it. And I know I've said this before, this stupid Facebook, I don't know, I'm kind of hooked on watching all these videos, and it's police chases and it's sovereign citizens, and I'm telling you what, I don't know how you guys do it. I really don't, because there's just so much craziness, and there's so many people that don't respect law enforcement, and I just can't fathom that, you know. And it's funny how nobody wants law enforcement until you need law enforcement. And then when you make that 911 call, like the county administrator said, we had a great case right here. The deputy comes out there, saves somebody's life. You know, so I sure appreciate what you're doing. And our good county attorney, you know, Don is working diligently. We've had a lot of murders, which is kind of crazy for this county, but we appreciate their staff too. So anyway, I just wanted to say thanks. And with that, Madam Chair, I would move the settlement agreement with the deputies that has just been presented to us here.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Is there any additional business?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions.
The only question I have is this the dispatchers too, or we're not?
Dispatchers have not, we do have a tentative agreement negotiated with our dispatchers unit.
Okay.
They have not yet voted on it as a union.
Oh.
Typically, we negotiate the negotiating teams, and then it goes back to the union for a vote.
Right.
And if they approve, then it will come forward.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm optimistic that we will be bringing you a labor agreement for our dispatchers, which is also in the public safety realm, hopefully at our next board meeting.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer questions about that or anything else related to county government.
Any other questions? If
Madam
not,
Chair, if there's nothing else, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
we have a
Second.
second. Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.